Welcome to Heartful. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who managed to watch our first video about Heartful. And that took it to more than 10,000 views. Very, very much appreciated. So I have covered phase 1 of the Heartful plan previously, which dealt with restoring law and order. And now phase 2 is about reclaiming our spaces. So we're talking about our towns, townships, and South African streets in general, because everybody's aware that crime in South Africa has become so brazen, and these spaces have become havens for criminals. So a well-trained patrol unit will be a great deterrent, and their presence will reduce criminal activity by quite a lot. So once we have safe spaces, we'll be able to attract investment into redevelopment. So today I'll be making comments on a few clips just to highlight the severity of the rot in our law enforcement agencies. And the EMPD in particular has been in the news lately, and here's why. Have a look.
Now, retired Ekurhuleni Metropolitan Police Department Deputy Chief Reverse Peace says fingerprint testing of Metro police officers revealed 275 of them had criminal convictions, but said no action was taken over this. After fierce opposition from the brigadier who helped fit blue lights onto entrepreneur Vusumuzi Matlala's cars, in evidence before the Madlanga Commission on Tuesday, Spies detailed the charges that EMPD were found guilty of, which included 58 counts of assault, 41 of theft, 33 of driving under the influence, and 28 of reckless and negligent driving. Now, another 15 officers are awaiting trial for murder, 14 are awaiting trial for fraud, and 8 are awaiting trial for robbery.
I think it's disgusting and shocking at the same time, because you see, when standards are not adhered to, chaos becomes the order of the day. So the EMPD is led by a group of politically connected people who, instead of setting standards and ensuring that EMPD operations take priority, their main focus is settling political scores and colluding with criminals. So lower ranking officers will mimic that behavior and start behaving with impunity. Because how do you expect them to enforce the law when high-ranking officials themselves are committing the crimes? So the next clip I'm about to play is quite heartbreaking. So I need to warn you about that. But it shows another side of corruption that most of us don't think about. Let's have a look.
You know, when you are dedicated to your work and you keep on receiving lash, you are chastised for the work that you do. And then it could only just raise a question as to say, what is the expectation then? I had signed a contract of employment. You had identified me. I didn't promote myself. I didn't make myself to be the spokesperson. I didn't even request for these inquiries to come my way. But why now? Why now? And at what expense? I have a daughter that I need to raise. Am I then saying that I must die in the line of duty for them to come and celebrate and put my coffin at the top of a fire engine and said she was a hero? It could never be that. After the second attack, I knew that things are really personal. I do not even have a leg to stand on. I do not have anybody to go to. I'm being handled in the department for reasons that are foreign to me. I would say this, commissioners, because again on the 19th of March this year, members of the EMPD, they had taken to protest over salary adjustments. This is known because it had media traction. The procedure and process that was adopted in dealing with the matter itself was that anybody who was identified to be part of the strike will then receive a dismissal notice. Commissioners, I'm seated here today further saying I was never part of the strike. But needless to just mention that I'm one who had received a pre-dismissal notice for a strike that I never even participated in. whatever that I had done to the EMPD management, I think this is the time for me to say it was never done deliberately. It was just in execution of my duties, that they needed to know and understand that I too am human. They cannot just keep sending random people to come and deal with me for the work that I do. And if at any given point I'm no longer sufficient in carrying out the functions, they must just find a replacement, and I will find my way out.
So this for me was the saddest moment in the Madlanga Commission, because what we are witnessing here is a typical example of what happens when criminality is rewarded, because then good people are victimized, and in this case, their lives threatened. So any dedicated officer who's there to do his or her job will quickly be sidelined or eliminated. So you end up with a department full of criminals led by criminals. I have one more thing to say. Complaining about crime doesn't make it go away. Only action produces results, and which will give us an opportunity to evaluate and move forward. So I want to close with a clip that sums up the situation that we find ourselves in. Because the question on my mind is, how do we fight crime when our law enforcement agencies keep employing criminals? So please watch the rest of the video and watch this clip and just think about it. Have a look.
Criminality within our space as law enforcement. What do you make of having to fight crime beside criminals themselves? How am I expected to go out onto the battlefield against a criminal, with a criminal only that resourced in full uniform and having all these powers that they could do what they do? It seems like we're a doomed nation as South Africans, because it doesn't speak, it doesn't address, it doesn't even defend the victim. In this instant, myself, I have no defense. I have to find means of fending for myself, my family who's also exposed to all these dangers, the frustration that comes with financial challenges, the fact that, twice already I was almost admitted in an institution. I had a referral to go to Akesu. I had refused blatantly and said I needed to be sound and sober. I had another referral to go to at Glen Vista, I believe, the hospital. Commissioners, it is extremely difficult to work under the conditions that we do in the EMPD by virtue of criminality, that there's a great expectation and powers vested in us to fight the very same crime. With my case in that aspect, what more when the criminal know who you are? Above all, they know my face. I'll forever be a target in that element. I thank you for the opportunity.